July 10th, 1943, off the southern coast of Sicily. The sea is black and restless, slapping the hulls of landing craft with the sound of wet canvas being torn apart. Diesel fumes hang low over the water, sharp in the throat. Men are hunched, shoulder to shoulder, steel helmets pulled down, rifles clenched so tight their knuckles ache. Somewhere in the dark, a man retches quietly. Somewhere else, another whispers a prayer he hasn't used since childhood. Then the wind shifts, and the smell changes. It's not cordite yet, not smoke. It's land, dust, and vegetation carried out over the water. Sicily. You can almost taste it, dry and ancient, like the breath of something that has been waiting a long time. On the deck of the command ship USS Monrovia, Lieutenant General George Smith Patton, Jr. leans forward, hands planted on the rail. He's wearing his helmet, not the polished showpiece he favors later, but a plain steel pot, scuffed and practical. His jaw is tight, his eyes never stop moving. "I smell victory," he mutters. No one laughs, no one questions him. Below, the invasion is already going wrong. The storm that wasn't supposed to be there has blown half the airborne drops miles off course. Paratroopers from the 82nd Airborne are scattered across the Sicilian countryside like spilled dice, some landing in olive groves, some in rocky ravines, some directly into enemy positions. Naval gunfire thunders offshore, flashes of orange briefly lighting the low clouds. The beaches ahead, codenamed Gela, Scoglieti, Licata, are invisible, swallowed by darkness and spray. This is Operation Husky, the largest amphibious invasion the world has ever seen. And this chaos, this noise, this uncertainty is Patton's first day in Sicily. The landing craft lurches forward, engine whining, propeller chewing up white water. The ramp rattles with every wave. Men brace themselves as the shoreline begins to take shape, a darker black against the Black Sea, broken by occasional pinpricks of light, farmhouses, a road, a low bluff. Then the first tracer rounds stitch the water. Green lines snap across the surface, skipping like stones. Someone yells, someone else ducks instinctively, helmet clanging into another helmet. The coxswain swears and guns the engine harder. The ramp slams down. "Go! Go! Go!" Boots hit water. Men stumble, curse, splash forward. The surf is deeper than expected, chest high in places, and rifles are held overhead, fingers white with effort. A man trips, another grabs him. They lurch onward together as machine gun fire chews the sand ahead. This isn't the clean, rehearsed landing they practiced in North Africa. This is raw, improvised, violent. And Patton knows it. From offshore, he watches through binoculars, jaw grinding. He can see the disorganization already, the bunching of units, the delayed waves, the smoke drifting the wrong way. He doesn't say much. He doesn't need to. He turns to his chief of staff, Major General Hobart Gay. "Get me ashore," Patton says. "Not later, not when it's safe, now." By dawn, the beachhead at Gela is barely holding. Italian coastal batteries, manned by troops everyone said would fold immediately, are still firing. German Harman Goering Division units, veterans well-equipped, are already counterattacking inland. Tanks are moving, real tanks, panzers. American infantry digs into shallow foxholes, hands shaking as they reload. Naval guns offshore begin firing almost point blank, shells screaming overhead and detonating just beyond the dunes. The ground jumps with every impact. And then Patton arrives. He comes ashore in a battered landing craft, boots soaked, trousers streaked with sand and salt. There's no speech, no dramatic pause. He steps onto the beach, looks around once, and immediately starts walking, fast, toward the sound of gunfire. Officers scramble to keep up. This is not the Patton of parades and polished ivory-handled pistols. This is something leaner, more dangerous. He passes wounded men being carried back, stretchers swaying. He doesn't stop. He nods once, sharply, like a man acknowledging a debt he intends to repay. He stops at a cluster of infantry pinned behind a sand berm, bullets cracking overhead. "Who's in charge here?" he snaps.
A young captain stands, half-crouched. "Sir, Captain Thompson, we're taking fire from the ridge. We can't—" Patton cuts him off. "You can and you will. Tanks? Delayed, sir. Roads are—" "Then you take the ridge without them." Patton looks past him, eyes narrowing, assessing the ground like a chessboard already mid-game. "You don't win wars by dying for your country," he says flatly. "You win wars by making the other poor dumb bastard die for his." Then he points. "Move!" And they do. The thing about Patton, something his men feel immediately, is that he behaves as if defeat is not an option worth acknowledging. Not bravado, not optimism, certainty. By mid-morning, reports are flooding in. Some units are advancing inland faster than planned. Others are stuck. Paratroopers are turning up everywhere, some barefoot, some missing weapons, some having fought their way for hours through enemy-held territory. Patton listens, absorbs, decides. He sets up a forward command post barely off the beach, ignoring advice to move farther back. Maps are spread on a folding table, weighted down with canteens. Radios crackle non-stop. Dust coats everything. The German counterattack comes hard around noon. Panzer IVs crest a low rise inland from Gela, guns already firing. American infantry scatters, scrambling for cover. Anti-tank guns fire, miss, fire again. One tank burns, another keeps coming. For a moment, just a moment, the entire invasion seems to teeter. Patton doesn't flinch. He grabs a radio handset. "Get me naval gunfire, now. I want those tanks erased." Coordinates are shouted, corrected, shouted again. Seconds later, the sea answers. 16-inch shells from American battleships slam into the ridge with a sound that feels less like noise and more like pressure, like the air itself being crushed. Earth, steel, and fire leap skyward. When the smoke clears, the ridge is gone. So are the tanks. The counterattack collapses.
Men stare at the devastation, stunned. Some cheer, some just breathe. Patton hands the radio back, already turning away. "That," he says, almost to himself, "is how you fight a war." By late afternoon, the beachhead is secure, but barely. The price is visible everywhere. Bodies lie half buried in sand. Burned-out vehicles smoke quietly. Medics move with mechanical focus, sleeves darkened with blood. The heat is brutal now, Sicilian sun baking the ground, turning helmets into ovens. Patton walks among it all. He checks units personally, corrects positions, redirects traffic. He berates one colonel for hesitating, praises a sergeant for holding a line with 10 men against 50. He remembers names, he remembers faces. Word spreads fast. Old blood and guts is here, and with him comes momentum. As evening approaches, Patton climbs a small rise overlooking the coastline. The Mediterranean stretches out behind him, deceptively calm, as if it hadn't tried to kill them hours earlier. Inland, Sicily waits. Rolling hills, stone villages, narrow roads perfect for ambush. This was supposed to be a supporting role. Montgomery's British Eighth Army was the star of the plan, driving up the eastern side of the island toward Messina. Patton's U.S. Seventh Army was meant to protect the flank. Patton looks at the map again, then at the land. Something shifts. He can feel it. An opening, a chance, the faint but unmistakable scent of opportunity. Not just victory today, victory bigger than planned. He folds the map slowly. "Gentlemen," he says to the officers gathered nearby, voice low but electric, "this is going to be a race." None of them asks what he means. Night begins to fall over Sicily, and somewhere inland, German commanders are already preparing their next move, unaware that the man on the beach is about to rewrite the entire campaign. Patton stares into the dark, smiling thinly. Tomorrow, he won't just hold the line. He'll break it.
Night settles over Sicily like a held breath. The gunfire fades first, then the shouting. What remains is the low murmur of engines, the clink of entrenching tools biting into rocky soil, the occasional flare drifting upward before burning out. The beachhead sleeps uneasily,
exhausted but alive. Patton does not sleep. Inside a commandeered farmhouse just inland from Gela, lantern light spills across maps pinned to the walls and weighed down with empty coffee mugs. Cigarette smoke hangs thick. Radios crackle in overlapping rhythms, reports from battalions, fragments from naval commanders, confused messages from airborne units still trying to orient themselves. Patton stands over the map, riding crop tucked under one arm, helmet resting on the table. He traces the coastline west with one finger. Licata, Porto Empedocle, Palermo. That wasn't the plan. The plan says, defend Montgomery's flank, hold, secure, wait. Patton exhales through his nose, slow and deliberate. Waiting has never won him anything. You feel it, don't you? He says quietly, not looking up. Major General Lucian Truscott, commander of the 3rd Infantry Division, shifts his weight. He's been fighting long enough to recognize that tone. Yes, sir. The Germans are reacting, not driving. Patton nods once. They're stretched. Their best units are tied up east with Monty. The Italians here, a dismissive flick of the hand. They're done. They just don't know it yet. He straightens, eyes hard. We're not going to sit on this beach like a collection of scared turtles. Silence follows. Then Truscott speaks carefully. Sir, Montgomery wasn't expecting. Patton cuts him off, voice sharp now. Montgomery isn't here. The decision is made. Orders begin to flow before midnight. Units that are expected to dig in are told to prepare to move. Supply officers scramble. Truck columns are rerouted. Artillery is repositioned. The 7th Army is no longer defending. It is advancing. Dawn, July 11th. The Sicilian countryside wakes to the sound of American engines. Columns of olive-drab trucks roll inland, dust pluming behind them. Infantry marches along narrow roads lined with stone walls and citrus groves. The air smells of crushed leaves, warm earth, and oil. Villagers peer from doorways, faces wary, hands half raised.
Some wave, some spit. Patton moves with the forward elements, jeep bouncing violently over rutted tracks. He stands half upright, scanning constantly, goggles pushed up on his helmet. His presence is unmistakable. Officers stiffen when they see him. Men straighten unconsciously. Outside a small village, resistance flares. Italian troops, tired, underfed, poorly led, open fire from a low ridge. The Americans deploy quickly, methodically. Mortars thump, rifle fire cracks. Within minutes, white cloths appear on rifle barrels. Patton watches through binoculars as dozens of Italian soldiers step forward, hands raised. He doesn't smile. He turns to an aide. Move them to the rear. Keep going. The war is not slowing down for surrender. By the afternoon, the pace has become relentless. Patton pushes his divisions hard, harder than doctrine recommends, harder than supply officers like. He demands speed, momentum, pressure. Every mile gained now is a mile the Germans cannot fortify later. Reports filter in, towns falling with barely a fight. Italian garrisons are melting away. German units are withdrawing north, trying to form new lines. At Comiso, a German rear guard puts up a sharper resistance. Machine guns chatter from stone buildings. Snipers crack shots from church towers. The Americans respond with overwhelming force, artillery walking forward, infantry clearing rooms with grenades and bayonets. When it's over, Patton walks the streets himself. Broken glass crunches under his boots. A church bell lies shattered in the square. Smoke drifts lazily upward. Civilians emerge slowly, blinking like people stepping into sunlight after a long confinement.
An old man approaches cautiously, hat clutched to his chest. He says something in Italian, voice trembling. An interpreter leans close to Patton. He says, "Is it over?" Patton studies the man for a long moment. "For you?" he replies. "Yes." Then he turns away. That night, word arrives from the east. Montgomery is bogged down. The British advance towards Pitania has stalled against fierce German defenses around Mount Etna. The terrain is brutal, lava fields, narrow passes, perfect killing ground. Progress is slow. Casualties are mounting.
Patton reads the report twice. Then he smiles, not out of spite, out of recognition. The race he sensed on the beach, it's real now. He calls his senior commanders together again, voice low but charged. "If Monty can't break through east," he says, tapping the map, "then we go north. We take Palermo. We cut the island in half." Someone hesitates. "Sir, that's a major deviation." Patton's eyes snap up. "Wars are not won by conformity." He leans in, finger stabbing the map. "We take Palermo, we control the ports, we control the supply, and we show everyone, the Germans, the British, Washington, that the American army is not a junior partner in this fight." No one argues. They know that look. July 12th becomes July 13th in a blur of dust and motion. The 7th Army surges west and north, covering ground at a pace that shocks even its own commanders. Trucks run day and night. Engineers throw bridges across ravines under fire. Infantry sleeps in ditches, eats cold rations, then moves again. Patton appears everywhere. 1 hour, he's berating a traffic officer for clogging a crossroads. Next, he's standing on a tank, shouting encouragement as it rolls forward. His voice carries, sharp, profane, alive. "You're doing fine. Keep moving. Faster." The men respond. They always do. But the Germans are not blind. Reconnaissance reports warn of German units repositioning north of Palermo. The Hermann-Göring division is pulling back, but not fleeing. They're choosing ground, preparing a fight. On the evening of July 13th, Patton stands on a ridge overlooking a long, winding road through the hills. The sun is setting, bleeding red across the sky. Somewhere ahead, German forces are digging in, waiting. Patton studies the terrain, expression unreadable. This is no longer opportunism. This is commitment. If he's wrong, if he's pushed too far, too fast, the 7th Army could be cut off, mauled, humiliated. He knows that. He accepts it. He turns to Truscott. "Tomorrow," he says, "we drive straight through them." Truscott nods. "Yes, sir." As darkness falls, Patton allows himself one brief pause. He removes his helmet, wipes the dust from his face, and inhales deeply. The smell is different now. Not the salt of the sea, not the dust of landing beaches. It's iron, smoke, fear. The smell of an enemy who knows he's being hunted, and Patton intends to run him to ground.